Today I'm going to change this panel across the front here that goes underneath the new windshield that we just put on the last video. And here it is. I'm going to put this chrome one on there. And this thing is made and sold by, let's see, or it's made by Show Chrome Accessories, Big Bike Parts. And anyway, I'm going to go through the instructions on putting this thing on. In case somebody buys a used one and doesn't have the instructions, I'll try to get a copy of this. In fact, just zoom in on that right now, and you can freeze that or do a screenshot on your computer. And here's the back side. You can do a screenshot on your computer and save that if you know how to do that. If you don't, I'll do a video on that someday. First thing you got to do is take this rubber boot here off of the mirror, just like we did on the windshield. Oh, I forgot one step before that. Got to release these height adjusters on both sides. Pull that all the way up. Now, of course, the height adjuster with this new thicker windshield, you can't adjust the height with those, but you still need that to move this thing out. What that height adjuster does, it's a clamp. It's on a little cam in there, and it clamps this front panel tightly against the windshield to hold it in place. Raise that up. Get this screw off of this original aluminum panel. Got that off on both sides. Unhook it from there, and just have to kind of pull kind of hard to get this thing unhooked from down here, like so. It's got these hooks right there that snap in. The original does. The new one's going to be different. Okay, the directions tell me to do what I just did as far as how to remove this front panel off of here. And if you need more detailed video on that, it's on my windshield video. When I changed the windshield, I got a lot more details on dealing with these things here in case you're running into issues with it. We have already done steps 1 through 7. Step 8 says, remove the old gasket from the top of the windshield trim, being careful to include the adhesive strips with the gasket. And then it says to put the new trim on. We didn't buy a new trim. The new trim is like over $100, and it says that you can use the old one. But in any case, we still have to take the old one. So I don't know why you would take the old one off if you bought the new one, but I didn't buy the new one, so I do have to take the old one off. And it says carefully clean the new chrome windshield trim and replace the rubber gasket onto the new windshield trim accent. Well, we're going to clean the old windshield trim and put it on because I didn't buy the new one. It says note 1988 through 1994. My bike is an 88. Use a slightly different rubber gasket than the ones on 95 through 97, but your older style rubber gasket will mount adequately on the new windshield trim and hold snug once installation is complete. So that trim is this rubber piece here, and it's glued on this side here with these things here. So I'm going to get that off of there and then go to the next step. I didn't know what I was going to have to do to get it off, but look, this glue 30 years old, is still sticky, and it's coming off just like so. All of them came off with the glue except for this one on one end. It stayed on here, and there's not really anything to work with, so I'll probably have to glue that one on with some different glue. I probably don't need to, but I'm going to squirt just a little bit of brake cleaner on a rag, or you can use lacquer thinner or whatever you want for a oil remover. And I'm going to wipe this surface off. I'm going to show something else. If you want to, you could take this thing off. It has two holes in the back. So you either measure across and drill those holes through this, because these have a little tiny tab on them, or a little tiny, like a pin sticking out, and there's a little wad of silicone glue on it. You could do that if you want, or you could just cut those off of there and just glue this on flat, or just leave it off, or go to Honda and try to order a new one. Just an option. Or they got an eagle decal that goes with these too if you order one with that, but I don't really want that. It's got like a cut in there, so make sure you snug that in all the way onto the edge of this. Snug that in there tight before you press these glued things down. I didn't start on camera because this being my first time doing this, I wanted to feel it out a little bit first, and once I centered this from end to end and made sure I was in the middle, then I started pushing these glued, they had the double stick tape on these little tabs here. Started pushing those down from the middle, working my way out. And since this thing clamps down tight against the windshield, you don't need to worry about how good this glue is on here, as long as it's not falling off. It's kind of just an assembly thing, more or less, I think, in my opinion. But you know what? These aren't sticking at all. Even though they're sticky, they're really not sticking. I'm going to stick just a little touch of silicone underneath part of this. It's not going to stick to the glued surfaces, but I'll just stick some underneath a little bit of this, just in a couple of spots. Or maybe I'll use contact cement. I think I'll use contact cement, so I don't have to wait for silicone to dry. But I'm going to go ahead. It doesn't tell me when to put these little decorations on. I'm just going to go on ahead and put them on now. So I don't see any certain way to do that other than find out how they fit on here from the outside, and then peel your tape off and put them on. I got both of those on. This won't stay on, so I'm going to have to glue it. Use my favorite contact cement for auto work, this 3M black super weather strip and gasket. I'm not going to try to stick it to these gluey, sticky surfaces. I'm going to do it in between on a couple of spots. I'm kind of depending on the clamping of this windshield to hold this in place instead of the glue. And with contact cement, you kind of want to get it in place and then pull it back off, let it air dry for a few minutes. We'll let that air dry for 3 or 4 minutes and then put it back on, then it'll hold. While that glue is drying, I'm going to take this plastic louver off of here. Got that off. Now we got to take these 2 bolts out above the headlight right here, and then we replace them. Let's see. Apparently they're going to be short bolts, and we replace them with these longer ones because this thing gets bolted on and then has spacers. Yes, they are shorter bolts. This one goes on with the hooks down. These are hooks that the new chrome plate piece goes on. Before I tighten those screws down, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in place before it dries too much. I forgot a part in the directions. I'm supposed to put these little washers that the set came with, 1 or 2 of them, whatever it takes to keep this bracket from riding against the headlight itself, and in my case it is riding against it, so I need to put these spacers in behind where these bolts are. We'll try it with 1 washer first on each side, and then we'll try it with, and then if that's not enough, we'll use 2. Looks like I'm still going to be touching, these brackets will still be touching, so either I can bend them upwards slightly. First I'm going to try to just hold this up high while I tighten it. It's still against the glass. So what I'm going to do is mount the windshield, or this trim piece. I'm going to mount that on here, but not tighten anything down. I'm just going to hang it on there and see if it looks like I'll have room to just bend these upwards a little bit. To mount this thing, you just got these little slots in the bottom, these holes right here, and you just hook these on and slide it to the left. Well, the angle of these hooks is not the same angle as these holes, so I've got to twist them and bend them a little bit anyway. Had to bend it outwards just a hair, and I'm going to go upwards just a hair from the headlight. I'll try it on both sides. Looks like I am going to be wrestling with this a little bit, adjusting and bending and trying to make these 2 holes on this panel line up with these 2 hooks down here, because they're not lining up like they're supposed to. They don't just fit, and that's not my first time having issues making accessories fit, or aftermarket body parts on cars. They don't fit right either. You have to do things to get them on right. What I'm running into is the hole in there, that long hole that lines up on top of this hook. If I get this one where it's in place there, and we come over here and we see that the hole is 1/4 of an inch over to the right, and it'll never go on this hook. So it looks like I'm going to have to compromise a little bit. I'm going to try to find out exactly where the center is of this thing, I'm probably going to take some measurements and find the exact center, mark a line. Probably don't have to. It says top right here on the headlight. That'd be a good center point right there. And then find the exact center here, and then I'm going to mark these hooks, and I'll just have to grind them off a little bit. I measured 18 inches from one side, one corner over here to this mark here, and then I did the same thing on that side, and it was going to be 18 1/4 to that mark. So I just estimated 1/8 of an inch over to the right and put that little Sharpie mark right there, and that's the one we'll follow. And those will just wipe off with wax or anything. So I'm centering that over, I can't do it with one hand, over where it says top here on the headlight. If you can see that, I think you can. Center it over that. Pretty close to centered anyway, and look at these hooks. Looks like the one on the right is in the worst shape. The one on the left seems to match up. No, we got to slide this thing over to the left. So it's going to have to slide over to the left about, looks like nearly 1/4 inch to hook on there. It's a shame I have to do anything like this. This stuff should just fit, but it doesn't. Anyway, I got to do something here or I'll never get it hooked on there. So I need this to be 1/4 of an inch to the right, to my right, as we're looking at the bike from the front, so that I can slide this over to the left and it'll end up centered. So it looks like we're okay. We don't have to mess with the actual hook part of that on this end. Just over here, we just got to grind down the back side. That'll work. Then we can slide this over and it'll match up there. Got this piece back off, and I marked approximately 1/4 inch off the back side of this hook here, and I'm going to go ahead and grind that down. Anybody remember Buffalo Tools? I've had this grinder, has to be 35 years. I've been living here 31 years, and I know where I lived when I bought it, so it's about 35 years. Switch broke on it, so I just hardwired it and I just plug it in when I need it. I got the spacing right between the holes as far as grinding the back of this down, but this one slides in there pretty good like it is. This one does over here, but not at the same time together, so something's going to have to bend. It's like I got to twist this one that way, and this. Find out what I got to do, because it's not going to slide on there and hook like it should. They fit in the holes now, but they're not going to slide in at the same time with each other. Unless I bend this thing down this way maybe. That seems to have helped some. It hooks on good now. This side is okay. This is the side I ground down. But now, grinding down the back side, yeah, it makes it where it slides on there good, but now the hook is a little bit short. I'm just barely hooking in the hole on this side of the hook. So what I could do, and I'm not going to, but I could weld a little piece out here and make that about 1/8 of an inch bigger so I'd have a little more to hook onto, but I'm not going to because up here in the corners this thing bolts down anyway. It's got bolt holes that bolts down up here anyway, so I'll just we'll have one good hook, one partially hooked, and then the 2 bolt holes. And if it gives me trouble and it starts coming loose, I'll just have to weld onto that at another time. Now we're hooked onto the bottom. Got to come over here and get these corners on. And it's kind of bowed outwards, kind of springy, bowed outwards. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge to hold that down on there. I know I can get one side down real easy. It's down right now, but the other side is going to come out twice as far. Let me see how this works. And I've got to put my old screw back in here so I don't lose it. That went to the plastic louver. Got those 2 screws back in. Now let me do the other side. Kind of an adjustable bracket here, but trying to push this one down is going to be kind of tight. Doesn't want to go. But when you pull this lever back here, that pulls that screw hole back and pulls all of this tightly that direction. That'll pull this thing back to that side, and I think it'll make it fit better. So let me just go on ahead and try to get that in there. Let's see how that works. Try the other side. Well, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think we're okay. No, we're not. We came unhooked. We came unhooked from underneath, so I gotta do it again. Got it done this time. What I had to do was, since I started over here on this side the first time, this was the lesser of the 2 hooks. This is the hook that I ground down, and the hook end of it was not catching by very much. Well, when I tightened this down and this sprung out, it just unhooked over here on this side. So this had the better hook. I started on this side and it stayed in there, and then when I pushed this side down, everything just lined up. Tightened everything down. So now I got to put these rubber boots back on. They can be a little tricky. I'm not going to go through that this time. If you're having issues putting these boots on, look at my installing the windshield video. I went into detail on that one. Got it all done. It's looking pretty sharp. I'm happy with it. It's all on there tight. The new windshield looks great. This is going to be another video is polishing. This paint was not shiny anymore, and you can see some reflections off of there that we got it polished up a bit with rubbing compound. And this back of this seat cushion here is sunburnt, sun damaged. Going to fix that. The rest of the cushion is in great shape. All the seats are in great shape, and I have a friend who's very good with a sewing machine. She doesn't know that this is coming her way, but here's some outdoor very heavy-duty sewing thread for upholstery, and here's a piece of upholstery material, outdoor weather-resistant brown, dark brown upholstery material, all from Amazon. That's something we'll be doing a video on, fixing this thing here and doing the rubbing compound and the polishing. Not bad for 30 years old, huh? I think it looks pretty good. All right, thanks for watching.